And it's amazing people get pulled into this kind of a con.
Yeah.
And they continue to justify it.
He's supposed to be a Hindu teacher.
He's supposed to be a Hindu teacher.
Didn't know anything.
That's why I speak out. He is not teaching Hinduism. He is not teaching the truth. And there are many, many, many Hindus that will tell you he is not teaching Hinduism. Okay? He's teaching cult ideology. That you can only get it through him and no other way. And that is absolute nonsense. What I teach is, the great I am. Whether you want to call it Shiva or whether you want to call it the I am. I don't give a rat's ass what name you want to put on it. It's inside. And he can't block it from you.
Yeah. And all the symbology, what it points to.
Exactly. He's not even getting where
energy.
this symbology is pointing to. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? All these gods, goddesses are energetic patterns, energies. Okay? You enter into that frame of mind, into that energetic pathway, causeway, opens those doors. Is he teaching you that? No. He's teaching you, you have to pray to me. You have to get it through me. Only I can do it through you. I'm Shiva. I'm this. I'm that. He's a liar. Okay? This is why it makes me so absolutely angry to see people taken and so screwed up mentally listening to his stuff. Because he takes it and it sounds good on the surface and it goes further and further and further away from the truth of it into this absolutely cultish darkness.
And they don't know where to start even.
They don't even know where to start. They haven't read. They don't know the traditions. They don't know they haven't read any of the things. Not Patanjali, they don't know the Vasishtas, they don't know any of it. So they have nowhere to judge.
Yeah.
They don't have any discernment. It just sounds good what he says on the surface. Sounds good to ego. I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that, you're going to get this, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
And they get nothing.
No way forward.
No way forward, because he's not giving the genuine truth.
Keeps them.
Yeah, he keeps them in a spin. He keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over. It's a hypnotic technique. Okay? But you listen to what he says on a lot of subjects. And there's no depth to it. It's just erroneous. Erroneous. He keeps throwing in these errors and errors and errors and errors. And it just is, it's so sad. It's beyond. You seeing people get so caught up. And then when they come out of it, then they're screwed up for a long time trying to get backtrack to reality and a place where they can begin to go forward. And it's just, it's just heinous. I haven't seen him teach anything correctly about Shiva or being able to contact it within or to do practices that are going to aid in opening that door. It's all directed back to him. And that's what a cult is. They just direct it back to the leader, and the only place you can get it is from him, through him. You have to put him here. He supplants God.
But even when they do that, it sounds like
But
that
even
doesn't
when they
work.
do that, unless they've given him the money and he's initiated them, and they get nothing.
Yeah.
See how it round robins back? That's how they do it. Oh no, I'm Shiva. I have to supplant God here. That's what they do. The cult ones, rather than God here, no, I'm Shiva, and you supplant me here, and only when you get initiated and I place myself here, you put me here. Not God anymore.
Yeah.
Him. That's a cult. Okay? No genuine guru will ever tell you that. Ever in a million years would they say something like that to somebody. No, you supplant, you surrender to the great I am that's within. Or Shiva, if you want to do a bhakti path, you surrender to Shiva. He is not fucking Shiva. Just no.
Bad news.
Bad news. Bad news. And this is why I speak out and speak up and will continue to speak out and speak up. Because I see people caught on this wheel and in confusion. They don't know which end is up. They have no discrimination. They don't have a background in any of the scriptures. And yet they want to think because they've listened to a few of his things for a couple years that they understand everything better than you do. You know, it's craziness.
Seems like you just can't judge anything when you have that filter, so much confusion.
No, you
How can
can't judge
say this
anything. You
person-
have no clarity at that point. You've lost all clarity. You've lost insight. You've lost the ability to see.
Yeah.
You've surrounded yourself, just like these people that we've seen that want to have this fantasy about India before they go.
Right.
And they want to try to tell me, oh no, they put women on pedestals there and it's so fabulous and wonderful. You don't know what you're talking about because they worship Shakti. And then they get to India, and then if your eyes are open and you actually watch, you see what's actually there. They do not respect women. The society has fallen so bad with that. There are gang rapes all the time now. Dowry fires. I mean, just if you lived there, you'd understand. The older women they throw out in the street, they're not used to the family anymore. They can have a young girl get married to this old man. He dies, they throw her out.
And they're just
She's a
begging.
pariah now.
And they're just begging. You see all
And
that.
they're out there begging.
Yeah.
For what's her fault? The guy died, so now she's a pariah? Okay. No, people, they have these fantasy notions and they want to live in some fantasy realm rather than the reality of what's there. Yes, okay, India used to be the golden light of India many, many, many years ago, but that was long ago. That's not now. Okay? Doesn't mean there's not wisdom that comes from there.
It's got an energy.
It has an energy, but again, you know, what's being taught,
Yeah.
so much of it is being taught in a wrong way, as a way of bondage rather than a way of moving forward. Okay? People have to understand, if you're going to worship Shiva or Kali, or doesn't matter, how to have bhakti, how to open to that energy and allow that in, rather than following some freaking fakaka cult leader that's going to supplant it. They try to supplant God. Rather than God being here and you can access directly, no, you have to access it through them.
Weakens you. Seems like that.
It draws, it sucks your energy. They rather than opening up and giving more energy, they suck their people dry of energy. They are like a psychic vampire, just sucking all their energy. And rather than mind being still, they repress the mind. There's a vast difference between a mind stilling from genuine practices and being repressed. And when you get these cult leaders, yeah, they have an energy, but they repress the mind. They repress the mind.
Yeah. And I think people barely notice it after a while. That's just their norm.
Yeah, they don't see it happening. It happens
Slow cooked frog.
like the slow cooked frog. That's it. They get in there, and again, they don't have anything to judge by. They don't have any depth of spiritual knowledge going in there. They haven't studied scriptures. They haven't walked a path. They haven't, done what's needed to have grounding and to understand how to judge these things. So when it sounds good on the surface and they latch onto it, oh, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense. And they get pulled further and further away and don't understand that that's happening. They don't understand that's happening. And then like this person gets in an absolute confusion. Don't know which end is up. Oh, I want to believe and I want to believe him, but this is wrong and this hasn't happened and I'm going back to my roots and I don't know which end's up. I'm just,
No starting place, really.
No, they lost all grounding, all mooring, all anything that they can build on. There's nothing there to build on.
Nothing there to fall back into to carry them forward.
Nothing at all. There are no open doors anywhere. They have a philosophical stance that they think they've got, but there's no open door of practices to move them forward. There's no grounding. There's no centering. There's nothing there but just stirring up a bunch of hoopla and stories and this and that that's not benefiting. It's not benefiting at all, anywhere.
It sounds like a jungle, a mess without a path.
It's like being in freaking quicksand.
Yeah.
It's like being in quicksand and wanting to go for it, and you're going for all your worth, and you're not going anywhere. You're getting sucked down and sucked down and sucked down and sucked down.
And draining more.
More confusion, more, just...
And that person suffers, too.
And they're suffering.
So badly, really.
They're suffering. They want to get out of suffering, but they're getting drawn into even more suffering, and they don't understand why.
There you go.
They don't understand why. And then what do? They want to persecute someone that's trying to give truth. They want to persecute there. So what kind of karma do you think is being...
God.
So they're getting screwed 10 ways to Sunday.
All the way around.
All the way around.
And it doesn't help anybody or themselves.
It's not helping them. It's not helping themselves. They're not going to hear a word that you say.
Right. It further entrenches them in whatever they're trying to get out of.
Exactly. They're going to fight tooth and nail because they don't want to hear that they're following something that's not right, that they've made a wrong choice, that I'm invested this time, I've invested this,
People are their own worst enemies when they don't know sometimes. But I think sometimes it seems like people don't want to see even when that's shown to them.
No, they don't want to see. They don't want to see. Because it takes work to get out there. He makes pie in the sky promises. Well, I can do this for you like that. Do you like that? No problem. I can make it happen like this. But it's not happening. So then they throw it back on the person and say, well, it's because you didn't have enough belief. It's your problem that it's not happening because you don't believe enough.
I see that.
That's what they do. Okay?
Wow. And then that just creates a negative.
And it creates a negative, and then they want to even more. But
I'll be better. I'll do this. It's a real, oh boy, I end up kind of see how people can get into that victim.
It's a conundrum.
Right.
If you're in victim mode to begin with.
Yeah.
In victim mode to begin with, and you don't have any kind of an idea where to get out. And it's like this practice. Sitting there screaming in a mirror and trying to compartmentalize is not going to get anything. It just keeps you more wound up and solidifies it and makes it more... it's not helping.
No, and some therapies do encourage that stuff, and it's so self-defeating.
It's self-defeating.
Because it just brings that energy right back your way. It keeps it going.
It does keep it going. Again, it just solidifies the drama is what it does. It solidifies the drama. There is a way to get out, but that is not the way.
I mean, all that energy, like the mantras that you give, all that energy you put into open your heart and just be and breathe. And, rather than going, or if you see the mind go in that direction, you just start with that again. And just, at least there's a way
there's a way to question. There is a way, but you've got to be centered, you've got to be grounded, you've got to have a way of being able to step back into witness state so that you can see objectively. You're not seeing anything objectively when you're sitting there to a point of screaming
and you make it
in
more
a thing.
Real feeling.
Exactly.
Make it more, you solidify it and make it feel like it does have validity and a reality.
Exactly.
When it doesn't, it's done with. It's not happening in that moment.
Exactly. Well, that's it. That's the one thing you start with.
Yeah.
If you have PTSD and it's been an event and the event is past, the starting point is recognizing who's victimizing me now. I'm victimizing myself.
Sure.
That's a starting point, but you got to see that to be able to even begin to start to come out of it.
And that's hard to do when you've made that valid and you've made that feel so familiar to you.
Exactly.
But this really did happen to me.
Right. But it's not happening any longer, and you've got to come to that point to see that a light bulb comes off where you can see, oh my God, I'm victimizing myself. Yes, that happened. Okay, an event happened, but that was long ago. So who's continuing that energy forward? The only one you can come back to is yourself.
Sure.
Okay, that's a starting point. That's a genuine starting point rather than sitting here screaming about old events.
So self-defeating.
That just solidifies the story.
Yeah, listen, I have a
keeps the story going, keeps the big story going, and all that energy that sucks you down in this whirlpool and doesn't give any kind of an exit point.
That's the thing about psych. I mean, I have a psych degree, so I know all those therapies, and that just needs to be looked at and reworked. Some of the ways
it needs to be reworked.
They think that's a benefit to vent like that and make someone else a target, and it just isn't.
Venting and making somebody else a target is not going to help anyone. Again, you have to come to a point of being able to witness, to be secure, to have a stability. You step back, and then you can see it. If you watch how these things come and how they bring up emotions, when this thought comes and it brings up this emotion and it makes it feel real, but what life can it have other than when you're paying attention to it? When it's not in your mind, you're not thinking about it, where did it go to? What life does it have? It only has life when you are paying attention to it. Then you're feeding it. Then emotion comes up. Then it feels solid. That's where you start to question. You start to question these things.
And then you react. Your whole body's reacting to it. So it's
and then you can, once you can question these things, you can get to the bottom of it, and it's like it cuts a cord. It's like it's gone. It's like, unties the knots. But you can't get there when you're caught up in the big story.
Not feeding. You can't feed it.
You can't keep feeding it because you're victimizing yourself over and over and over again. And that's what people have to come to a point in order to start to even get the therapy that's going to help. You have to see that you are victimizing yourself. And when you finally get that, it's like a light bulb goes off. Well, that's pretty stupid. Am I not tired of this?
For sure. I mean about being your own
that's a
worst
starting
enemy. You
point.
don't think you're being your own worst enemy. You think you're validating and making yourself feel better or getting some insight. And
you
just
justify and justify and justify. But you've got to finally have that clarity where a light bulb goes off and you can see at that point, oh my God. It's like, I understand why people do cutting. When, like I said, long time ago when I was going through all that pain, I'd get all the piercings and this and that because the physical pain was easier to deal with than the emotional pain. And it finally hit one day, what the hell? It's not helping anything. Every time it heals, You go back into that cycle of mental pain again. So you finally have to have that moment of clarity of coming up and go, well, that's pretty stupid. That's not helping anything.
What's this about?
Exactly, and then you stop that behavior stops. But then again you go into the next part of it.
Well, that's true of a lot of things that people have, these compulsive behaviors and thoughts, and it's just something to be looked at that way.
Right.
You know, they just do it, they react to it, and then to see the cause and effect. What is this, where is this coming, what is this about? You know, and to look further into it rather than just doing it.
You have to come to a point where you can objectively begin to look at it, and then you can start finding the way out. But you've got to see it first. Rather than being caught up in this reactive drama, screaming and yelling reactive dramas, you have to come to a point where you can finally see it. That's why that one thing that I'm doing now with that's worked so well with some people is Seeing is Believing. That's the name of it. We named it Seeing is Believing.
Oh, nice.
Because first you have to see it, and then you do the way to get out. Now, how do I bridge this from here to here? Right. And then they become aids in their own journey. Yeah. But first they have to see it. In order to step out of it, they have to finally see it. And then you can see, well, where do you want to go? And then how to bridge, well, how do we bridge from here to here? And they can see steps. Mm-hmm. And you have to get the patient to see the steps themselves to move forward, rather than you telling this is the step you need to take. They have to see it. And then if they can see it, then they know it's in their hands, and they're the ones that have to bridge that gap.
And that discourages, which I think in psych is such a good thing. It discourages dependency.
Exactly.
And I think what it does is it draws them back into their own strength, their own ability to go forward and be autonomous.
Exactly. It puts the power in their hands as to how to move forward for their own healing.
And see, that's what psych doesn't do enough.
It doesn't do it enough. No, they need to have these ways of creating these open doors that they can see it and begin to move forward.
Yes. Understood. Very good.
So anyway, this is something that's coming up that's, our friend is working with first responders. She's going to start putting that into effect with them as well, with first responders. So,
they need to be sturdy, so it'd be a good thing. They need to be sturdy, so that would be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it with the first responders, it's the stress of the job and this and that, and they don't want to take it home. And they get caught up in behaviors which are we'll just say, not good, not good behaviors. So, again, they need to look at that and then find ways to bridge. So anyway, that's coming up. That's coming up.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, it's worked really well with the ones that have used that and actually, participated in it. It can open doors very quickly.
I think it does, but I think a lot of people do want, you tell me, you show me the way, and I think that needs to be broken.
Yeah, no, it can't, it doesn't work that way. Or if they're going for therapy and you're talking, it's in one ear and out the other.
Right, exactly, then you have something to look at.
Exactly, then they forget, and it's like this and that. But if you can actually see it concretely, you can put it up, you can focus, you can see it, and then on a day-to-day basis, you can make a connection.
Yeah, for sure. Be nice to see some movement there.
Exactly.
People actually getting better and stronger, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Jeez Louise.
Exactly.
I don't know. Like I say, working in that field, I'd like to see that. That would be a lot.
Well, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the psych field, with stuff. so many old paradigms of
Yes,
Freudian,
that's right.
everything comes back to
Boxes.
sex and nonsense, and it's like, oh Lord have mercy.
It's bad. And then the therapists themselves need some help.
Well, usually people go in to become a therapist because they want to figure out their own crap and drama.
And they don't know where to begin with themselves. So
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly. They don't know where to begin with themselves. So anyway, yeah, no, a lot of work needs to be done in that field as to how the mind works, how these things solidified, and what is needed to break these patterns. Energy, yeah, how to work with it, and how to come to a point of a balance where they can begin to actually see rather than getting caught up in the drama. So we're going to close this out here.